All right, all right. Greetings, greetings. And we have our champions of ICC Trophy 2025 as a Ravinder Jadeja boundary sent the crowd in Dubai into a frenzy as India claimed yet another ICC title to back up the T20 title they claimed in the Caribbean recently. Malik.
Hey, I thought India would win. India won. You just came up short with the New Zealand prediction, man. I remember I'd always said I think India would win. I think this game was definitely closer than it looked, but
Mhm.
and it was close. But hey, listen, Rohit Sharma. You know, how many times would I say this? But without Kohli, India has won the Champions Trophy. That's what it is. Without Kohli. Hey, listen, but the reason is Rohit Sharma. Uh, the guy, hey, listen, there's memes all over the world around him that he's fat, he's overweight. Guess what? It doesn't matter if you're overweight, if you can hit the ball the way he did. He was playing a separate game compared to every other batsman. Even the Indian batsman didn't look this fluent that, this guy was hailing sixes all over Dubai.
I want to say congratulations to all of the India fans out there. This India team played outstanding cricket. They deserve to win the title. They have quality players, Samir. New Zealand, obviously, my pre tournament favorites, but it was just not meant to be for the Kiwis.
Hey, listen, bottom line, India has not lost a game in the last two events. That's the bottom line. And the last time they lost a game in an ICC event was the finals of the 2023 World Cup to Australia. Hey, listen, everybody knows that India and Australia are the best teams in the world. Australia, remember, were a little bit short this time without their captain and their premier fast bowlers. And I think that affected them a little bit, not a lot, but it did affect them, right? And I think
Mm.
going forward, Rohit came out and said, hey, listen, I'm not retiring anytime soon. So
Hold
he's
that
going
for
to keep
now.
going.
Hold that for now. The
Hey,
India
listen,
star.
you can't hold my thoughts. This is a moment that Indian fans have been waiting for. And hey, listen, to be honest, hey, listen, you know me, I'm from Pakistan. I wanted Pakistan to win. But once Pakistan was out, I knew that India was the team to beat. And they proved it. They proved it. Hey, listen, their spin attack was incredible. And on top of it, their batting was incredible. The way they chased down these totals, they made it look easy.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise. Rohit Sharma and India lost yet another toss. 15th toss in a row. But they got what they wanted. India wanted to chase. New
It didn't
Zealand back.
matter. It didn't matter.
Didn't matter. 251 for 7. Mitchell, 63, rather slow in his approach, Samir. He
Hey,
played a good
listen,
hand. And
remember what I told you about Steve Smith?
yeah,
Steve Smith was a tad slow. Mitchell was extremely slow yesterday. Extremely slow. Hey, listen, it didn't matter that you'd gone from 57 for no loss to 75 for three. You had ample batting behind you. The way Mitchell batted was a disappointment yesterday. I think his 63 of 101 is the reason why New Zealand ended up at 250. Obviously, listen, if he gets out early, they probably end up at 200, but it wouldn't have mattered. It was a losing cause. I'd rather you go for it and get to that 280 to 300 mark. They would have gotten to 280 to 300, and especially when India, for the first time in the tournament, had a mini collapse. You got to remember that. India was 105 for no loss in the 18th over, cruising, and all of a sudden they were 122 in 26 overs. From the time that Shabnam Gill got out to the time that Rohit Sharma got out, they only added 17 runs in almost 7 overs. This was the first time somebody put the screws on India in the tournament, right? So, guess what? If the target was 280 to 300 instead of 250, I think India could have struggled. I'm not saying they would have struggled, they could have struggled. But they were cruising because they knew that they had the batting depth, right? Remember, Jadeja batting at 8, and you said Jadeja hit the winning shot. Hey, listen, that's why Jadeja's batting at 8. They want the depth, right? It's a good strategy. But I think poor batting from Daryl Mitchell. I know once again he was your pre-tournament favorite batsman, the X factor. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
Daryl Mitchell yesterday disappointed all the Kiwi fans and everybody who were rooting for them yesterday.
Absolutely. He got a good score, but I must say I was
No,
disappointed.
he did not get a good score, Roger.
The
That was a
score,
poor
score.
innings. That was a poor
Yeah,
innings yesterday.
yeah. He was slow, but he got a score. That's what I meant. He got a
But
score.
remember, it was once again, it was the approach, right? All of a
Yeah, yeah.
sudden,
He
New
was
Zealand
slow.
went from an attacking approach to an
Mm.
approach that didn't make any sense at all. Compared to the South Africa game, obviously in different conditions, against a different opponent. Once again, I don't think they should have changed their approach. That's what happened. Latham, another disappointing innings, even though Latham added a few runs with Darren Mitchell, but that was a disappointing innings. Glenn Phillips, that was a disappointing innings. These guys batted very, very slow. The only reason they got it 250 was because at the end, Bracewell came in and swung his bat around for a few and got 53 or 40. All these guys had the potential to get the same 53 or 40. They just weren't attacking enough. And I think they got scared again. Once again, remember, the one thing that India has consistently shown is that they scared the shit out of their opponents. And that's what they did here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, Kuldeep Yadav spun a web really around this New Zealand team. Kuldeep Yadav was absolutely brilliant. Varun Chakravarthy, 2 for 45. He did really, really well. India, in their reply, 254 for 6, with Rohit Sharma getting a brilliant 76. Iyer getting 48. Rahul, as calm as ever, 34 not out. He's been finishing very, very well, Samir.
Hey, listen, once again, I think India just chased the total, right? If I'm telling you right now, if New Zealand would have scored 300, India probably could have chased 300 too. I'm not saying they wouldn't have because the approach would have been different. But India was cruising because they knew they had the ability. At no point was it a runner ball or more, right? It was less than a runner ball all the time going to the end, right? That's what happened throughout the tournament. The Pakistan game, they cruised to victory. The, you know, game in the semi-finals when they played Australia, they cruised to victory. Yesterday, they cruised to victory, right? That's what they do. And I think, looking at how Iyer batted, especially after Kohli got out and he came in, hey, listen, once again, that was incredible the way he batted. And Axar Patel, again, once again, had two massive hits. I think, that six that he swept, when they were in trouble a little bit, it looked like, it was a runner ball and he swept it for six. That was an incredible shot. But once again, that was fearless cricket. That is what you were expecting of New Zealand. New Zealand in the important times became scared. India in the important times played fearless cricket. The same thing, I think at one point it was like 30 runs of 24 balls and Hardik Pandya hit that massive six straight on long off, right? And that was what it was. Once again, when the moment comes, you cannot be scared. That is what India has shown. I think the last time I've seen a team which has scared their opponents was Australia, the 2000s Australia, the 99, the 2003, the 2007 Australian team that won back to back to back World Cups. They used to scare their opponents. I think this Indian team scared their opponents.
I'm going to be honest here, Samir. New Zealand, in my opinion, South Africa is always being accused of choking and accused of not turning up when the big moment is here. And I, for one, I don't believe South Africa choked in this tournament. They were just not good enough. All right, they were outplayed. I have to tell you, Samir, you are 100% right. India, they played fearless cricket. They played free. I have to tell you, for me, New Zealand choked.
Hey, listen, once again, you know the player who's now going to be known as, coming up short in the big moments is somehow, unfortunately, going to be Kane Williamson. I think this is his eighth ICC tournament where they've gone to the semifinals or the finals, and he just has come up short. He might have performed in some of those games very well, but usually they've come up short, right? And that's what it is. Remember the England New Zealand finals in the Lords, right? That was 2019. He played very well, but I just didn't think that those were enough runs, right? To get to where you needed to. The 240 was not enough to win a World Cup final. And that went into, super over and a second super over, and unfortunately they lost, right? But
Mm.
that's what I'm saying. Listen, you come up short so many times, people start talking about it. That's what it is. And once again, South Africa and New Zealand both have had their chances at India. Remember, South Africa was in control a year ago in the 2024 World Cup, and guess what happened? They basically weren't able to get going. Now the same thing here. You've seen over the last 6 to 8 days where New Zealand has come up short twice against India.
Yeah, no, no doubt India deserves to win. Now, Samir, when India started, Rohit Sharma got off to an absolutely brilliant start, playing his usual sort of freestyle, playing those pickup shots, playing that pull shot, and India were cruising at one point, but then it almost seemed as if the pitch changed. Suddenly, it started to spin a little bit more. New Zealand bowled their spinners bowled tight. Rohit came under a little bit of pressure and ran past one. At that point, would India have been a little bit worried, Samir?
I think that was the moment. You see, 122 for three in 26 overs, especially
Mhm.
considering the previous 8 overs was a struggle, right? Remember, when do we say that India's in an 8 over span has scored 17 runs? Never, right? But that
Yeah.
was the span where they lost Gill, Kohli, and Sharma, and it was a tough time period. But once again, listen, that's where Iyer and Patel came in, and both of them had sixes. Listen, Iyer had two sixes. Patel had one. Rahul had one. Pandya had one. Every one of them was hitting sixes, right? The big shot to release the pressure in a chase like this. As I said, they never were really more than a run a ball at any point, right? So guess what they were able to do? They were able to keep going. And I think that's what you saw here. Once again, trying to hit that big shot, calculated, and then go for it. And if it works out, it works out. I think Rohit Sharma at that point was playing with house money. That's when he got out, right? He said, "All right, listen, we've had a slow go for the last 8 overs. Let me just go for it." And once again, listen, Ravindra and Bracewell and Santner all balled extremely well, especially Bracewell. Remember, if New Zealand would have ended up winning this, it would be Bracewell we would be talking about, right? Because he had 53 or 40 balls and he had two for 28 in 10 overs. So once again, if New Zealand would have won, we would have been talking about Bracewell today. But guess
Mhm.
what? They were at the losing side, and now we're talking about Daryl Mitchell and the slowness of his innings. I think he was the key. The way New Zealand started, especially Rachin Ravindra, he was unfortunately bowled, but he was 37 of 29. He played a similar knock to how Rohit Sharma started with a bang, right? That's what he did. But then Daryl Mitchell and Latham, you know, performance in the middle over, especially when they came together and they only added 33 runs in almost 11 overs, I think that's what cost them the game.
As much as we say in the end it appeared as if the game was close, Samir, at no point, to be honest with you, did I really, really feel as if India was not going to win. I always felt as if once Akshar was at the crease and Rahul and they were going, even when Akshar Patel got out, there was no chance really for New Zealand. I mean, the game went down to the last over, yes, but it always felt as if India had that game in
Yes.
control.
No, no, absolutely they did. Hey, listen, 250 wasn't enough here. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And once again, I got to say this again. In ODI cricket in today's era, this is not the 1990s. New Zealand, unfortunately, yesterday played as if it was the 1990s.
Yeah.
They were there was no time in their innings where I thought, hey, listen, their target is 300. I think they were happy with that 250, 260. And I think that's where they lost the game.
But
Against a
Samir,
team like India and a batting lineup like that, you can't expect 250 to be enough.
Samir, let's be honest. At one point, New Zealand didn't even look like they were going to get 250.
Yeah, Bracewell got them there. Bracewell got them there. Hey, listen, once again, I think the three guys who disappointed me the most for New Zealand, okay,
Mm.
is Mitchell, Latham, and Glenn Phillips. And all of them are going to have to look, especially Glenn Phillips, 34 of 52. Hey, listen, once again, we've been comparing this guy to Maxwell. Maxwell either gets out first ball or he scores 50 of 30, not the opposite. And I think Glenn Phillips yesterday, once again, as I said, I think the Indian bowlers have scared, especially the spinners, have scared their opponents this time round. Hey, listen, the great Stephen Smith, right? You saw how he batted. We spoke about it. We said, hey, listen, it was just not enough. The same way Daryl Mitchell came up short.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, again, I selected New Zealand to win because I thought they were playing really good cricket. I definitely believe this New Zealand team is extremely talented and they could have really challenged India. However, India, there's no doubt that India deserves this win. Everyone has had a lot to say about India having an advantage, India playing in Dubai, India playing in these conditions. But 10 years from now, Samir, 5 years from now, there will be no asterisk beside this champions trophy victory by India. Everyone would have realized that India for sure deserved this win, and they were just the best team.
Roger, there is no reason to bring up an asterisk, man. Come on. Why are we even discussing an asterisk? This was a complete performance. They didn't win a single toss all tournament. If you're going to say that somebody took advantage of the conditions, the team winning the toss can take advantage of the conditions. These guys played the game and they played it better than anybody else. Hats
Yeah.
off to India. And once again, I've been saying this for a very long time that what they've been doing on their local level, a lot of people say this is the reason the PSL is causing this. No, the PSL or the IPL isn't causing this. The reason why India is doing well is because India has a great bench and they made the right decisions, the right combination. Once again, remember we've spoken about this with Sanju Samson, Jaswal, many other batsmen who probably should be in the team. They're not playing and they're sitting on the bench, right? Guess what? They would walk into any other side and be their top batsman. But in India, you got to play the bench right now because these guys came in, they had the right style. Once again, listen, if India had to go back and say, hey, listen, what happened here? The guy who probably had a poor tournament after a good start is Shabnam Gill.
Mhm.
His century was probably from Indian standards a tad bit slow. And then since then, he didn't do much, right? Even yesterday, it was Rohit who was basically taking the lead, as should a captain. But Shabnam Gill, he played a tad slow, but he didn't need to play faster because Rohit was doing so much better at that
And they
point.
chased 250. I want to say one thing here, Samir. With everything being said, if this game was being played in Pakistan, India would have still won, right? They were the best team, hands down. Um, One sort of point that people have raised that I think might be a little bit valid. Obviously, each team is allowed to pick a 15-man squad. India had replaced Jaiswal in their squad with a spinner, right? And India essentially were allowed. They had maybe 4 or 5 spinners in their squad, while some of the other teams obviously had to had a good big mix of quick bowlers and spinners because they had to play in both conditions. So
Hey,
with that, a
listen,
bit,
once again, New Zealand yesterday had 4 spinners. And now it's not New Zealand's fault that India has better spinners. Hey, listen, that's not India's fault either. It's not New Zealand's fault, but it's not India's fault either, right? Once again, you can say, listen, India knew they were playing on slower pitches. Once again, I don't think yesterday's pitch was that slow. If anything, India batted in a more difficult time period than New Zealand did. New Zealand took advantage early when the pitch was playing better, and they still only scored 250. India batted, especially as you said, listen, conditions change around the 25th over, right? That's when the ball was starting to turn a little bit. That was more difficult for India, and they made it easy. They made it look easy, man.
is it unfair to call New Zealand the little engine that could?
Hey, once again, it's just a perspective, right? Hey, listen, they could have easily won this if they would have played fearless cricket. I've been
Yeah.
saying this all along. You cannot play with fear. You got to go bat and you got to score runs. That's what I tell everybody. You, Roger, how many times I tell you that? Is this something that I started telling you yesterday? Absolutely not. I've been
No,
saying it for months and years on end to anybody who wants to hear it. In cricket, you got to be fearless and you got to score runs. That's it. And
no.
India scored more than anybody else.
Yes, yes. Deserved winners. India, ICC Champions Trophy. Now, Samir, Rohit Sharma made it clear I am not retiring from this format. To the surprise of many fans around the world.
I think to the surprise of the Indian Cricket Board, BCCI is surprised. I think that was remember he's been on the outs, right? Remember
Yeah,
where he was a couple of months ago when Gambhir basically kicked him out of the fifth test, right?
yeah.
Remember? And then yeah, once again I don't even remember that. Has he taken retirement from Test cricket?
No, not officially.
Okay, so hey, listen, he's still in the game, right? And I
Yeah.
think after this World Cup victory, he probably goes to play England this summer.
All right, I'm gonna come back to you, Samir, for your opinion on this, and if you think Rohit Sharma made the right decision. In my opinion, this is a shockingly poor decision. This is a sportsman who just wants to hold on. I think he still has good innings left in him. He can still bat, but I don't think Rohit Sharma really has it in him anymore, Samir, to remain consistent. He should have ended on a high here. And a lot of these sportsmen, from time to time, they have a tendency to overstay their welcome, to go on for too long. And I really believe for Rohit Sharma, obviously Virat Kohli, we had said this, you and I agreed, Virat Kohli should try to make it to the next World Cup. Rohit Sharma should have taken this opportunity to end on a high, Samir.
Hey, listen, once again, in a perfect world, you're absolutely right. But the way he was batting yesterday, I wouldn't take a retirement here. Why would I take a retirement when I'm flicking those sixes? Who batted better than him yesterday? Nobody. Out of 22 players, he batted the best, the number one batsman yesterday at the ground. Then number two, the way he was batting, he slowed down at the end a little bit, but that was by design. But to be honest, he was the only fearless guy there. The way he batted fearlessly. Obviously he got stumped yesterday, but he ran down the pitch to hit a ball, and if he would have connected it, that would have gone all the way too, right?
Samir, the name of the game is consistency. Do you believe Rohit still has it in him to remain consistent? He could score, have
I
good
think
innings.
in white ball, hey, listen, to be honest, I
Mm.
think it's the opposite. He should take retirement from Test cricket and focus on T20 and ODIs, because I think even in T20, he's extremely effective at this point.
But is he
Remember,
consistent?
oh, very consistent. What are you talking about? Very consistent, man. Once again, hey, listen, have you seen what he's done in this Champions Trophy? You're saying that he's not consistent. Every game he started off and he batted at a more than 100 strike rate, and he can
Mm.
do that in T20 too. All he needs to do is just stand there, let the ball come to him, and he has some great. Remember his eye and contact that he has. Remember that his eyes are right there, where once again he might not have the same footwork he had from years ago, but his eye contact is still there. I saw it yesterday. When I saw it, I saw in the discouragement in the New Zealand camp, right? You saw it when he hit those sixes. Don't you think that New Zealand was discouraged? How can this guy do it and we can't do it?
No, for sure. You remember when Sangakkara and Mahela Jarwana retired? So Kumar
Yes.
Sangakkara had more left in the tank. They retired on top in 2014.
Hey, listen, in a difficult pitch. Now, let me ask you one question. If Rohit was batting in Pakistan, in Lahore,
Mm.
you think he would have 76 of 83? I think
He
he
would
would have 123 of 70,
he would have 120. Yeah.
because this was a difficult pitch. Just imagine what he's doing on a difficult pitch.
Mm.
Hey, listen, the T20 World Cup next year is in India. I
Mm.
would love to see Rohit Sharma batting at the top of the order. Maybe he shouldn't captain, but he should be back in the side. If I am the coach and I am the selectors, I'm begging Rohit Sharma to be back next year for the T20 World Cup. One last hooray again. Because you know what? Those pitches are not going to be as challenging as these pitches. He's shown that he's batted in challenging conditions and he's dominated.
Mm.
Imagine what he can do on roads. That's why what I'm saying is, hey, listen, what you saw from the Indian squad, the Kohli 100 against Pakistan, the Kohli 84 in the semi-finals, the Rohit Sharma innings from yesterday. These are classic innings, which probably on any other pitch are double the runs.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Again, India champions, deserved champions. Rohit Sharma to continue. Samir agrees. I don't necessarily agree, but it is what it is. Uh, it was a fantastic tournament, Samir. What are your best memories of this tournament?
Hey, listen, it was a great tournament. Australia chasing 350 or 360 against England. That was amazing. That brought Australia back into the tournament, right? Everybody thought that Australia was missing their big three, which they were, but they still somehow made it all the way to the semifinals. Looking at New Zealand, their progress, amazing progress. Obviously, they ran into a freight train, which is India at this point, probably the best white ball team in the world. Obviously, next year when we go to the T20 World Cup, we're hoping that all these teams are at full strength and you'll be able to see what they can do. But I'm going to tell you something. Next year, the T20 World Cup will have the hybrid model, just like it's had it this year. If that's the case, Pakistan will play all their games probably in Sri Lanka and they can set up their team. Do you think that Pakistan can repeat what India's done? I don't think so. So that's what I'm going to tell you. Next year at this point, when we go to India for the World Cup, and when the hybrid model is in place, you will see what I've been talking about India. That what they did, even though everybody's been critical that hey, listen, they have the undue advantage, they have a settled side, they don't need to travel. Hey, listen, if every team had that opportunity and they win, then you're right. Hey, listen, there's an advantage. But at this point, there is no advantage, in my opinion. The only way we'll find out is how Pakistan does next year. If Pakistan wins the T20 World Cup next year, then you can say, hey, listen, that is an unfair model. But if Pakistan doesn't, which I don't think they will, I don't think there's any advantage here. And I think that is going to be remembered. Remember, this Champions Trophy will still be remembered, especially from the critic standpoint, that, hey, listen, India had that small advantage. Let me remind them, they haven't won a toss in 15 games, and they haven't lost in 15 games.
Yeah. No, you're right. I can't disagree with you here. Again, if Pakistan has the same advantage next year, which they will, they will not win. They're just not good enough. I think India have won because they have clearly shown that they are the best team, and that's why they have won. And hey, hats off to India. They definitely, definitely deserved winners of this Champions Trophy. Go ahead.
The only thing, Roger, that you can put in place is Australia. Let's see if they're back to full strength next year. That's the only thing. That would be the only thing that I would look at, because I think that's the only team that can challenge India. You understand the point? If you look at the scores that the opponents put up against India, I think Australia was the only team that put up 264. Everybody else was below 254, 200, 240. Nobody went beyond 264, right? So India was doing extremely well along the way, right? Remember, this was not just India coming to the finals and winning the finals. They were performing along the way. That's the key.
So you gave sort of your moment of the tournament. I want to give my sort of realistic moment of the tournament when something really came to realization. Pakistan versus India in ICC events, Samir, and I want your comment on this. Pakistan versus India is overhyped. It's been overhyped for years. And I know Pakistan don't play India in bilaterals, and perhaps the scarcity of these two teams meeting each other is why this is happening. But almost every time these two teams meet in ICC events, there's this huge hype, and then this game is a big flop. I know there's huge money, I know there's a commercial value, of India Pakistan, but this meeting between these two teams have been a complete flop, and I would like to see going forward the groups just be done fairly, and let us stop trying to put India versus Pakistan because it's a flop and Pakistan never shows up.
That's not true. Well, the last Champions Trophy final, Pakistan beat India by almost 180 runs.
Eight
Okay,
years
that was.
ago.
It doesn't matter. That was the last Champions Trophy final. Then in Dubai, in the T20 World Cup, Pakistan beat them by 10 wickets. We can't say that this rivalry is a flop. It isn't. The rivalry works. And hey, listen, even though India won comprehensively, against Pakistan in this tournament. But listen, who won against India? Nobody. So you can't really blame Pakistan for that. Pakistan was playing the same Indian squad that every other team was, and every other team dominated, by India, right? So that's what it is. So I don't believe that. I think the Pakistan-India rivalry is in full flow. Remember, Pakistan also had some issues this time, right? I think there were some selection issues. Fakhar Zaman was not playing. Saim Ayub wasn't playing. Let's see when those two guys are fit again, how they look in a combination. I'm very excited about the T20 World Cup. Yes, I'm not expecting Pakistan to win, but if those two guys are in the T20 World Cup and they're playing in Colombo, you never know.
You never know. Samir, it's been fantastic covering this entire Champions Trophy with you. India, deserved winners. Champions, India!
It was a pleasure.
Congratulations, Team India. Fans, see you soon. We have a lot more cricket coming up. A absolutely chock block, lots of cricket this year. We will see you soon.